The girl lost her parents at a young age. She had only her aunt to depend on, but her aunt thought Heidi was a burden. She decided to send her to her grandfather's house in the Alps, but grandfather refused to take Heidi in, so the aunt just dumped Heidi there and ran off by herself. Grandfather shouted loudly at the aunt's retreating figure, telling her to take Heidi away, but Heidi said she doesn't want me anymore. Grandfather ignored her and coldly walked into the cottage. It was about to rain. Heidi quietly walked into the sheep pen. She spent the night hugging a little lamb. When Heidi woke up, she was full of hope that grandfather would accept her, but grandfather still had no intention of adopting her. To get rid of this burden, grandfather took her to the pastor, planning to give her away for adoption. The pastor also didn't want to adopt her. Grandfather had no choice but to take Heidi home first. He had the shepherd Peter take Heidi to tend the sheep. Peter quietly told Heidi, "The villagers all say your grandfather once killed someone." Heidi was very scared when she got home. He told Heidi, "People always love to gossip, but you need to make your own judgment." Heidi looked at her stern-faced grandfather, then gave him a big hug, slowly melting grandfather's frozen heart. Heidi ran carefree through the Alps. The two of them herded sheep together on the mountain, lay on the grass watching clouds, and secretly observed marmots from a distance. Before leaving, Peter invited Heidi to visit his home. Peter's family only had a single mother and a blind grandmother. Heidi handed bread to Peter's grandmother, but grandmother had lost all her teeth. She couldn't bite the hard bread. This made Heidi very sad. That evening grandfather came to pick her up. Heidi said Peter's grandmother can't see. Compared to her, I'm still very fortunate, because I have a grandfather who loves me. These words struck grandfather's heart, but the aunt's appearance shattered all the warmth. The aunt found a wealthy family in the city, where she worked needed a little girl as a companion. Grandfather immediately ordered her to leave, so the aunt secretly found Heidi, but she only wanted to stay with grandfather. The aunt had to trick Heidi, saying grandfather told me to take you away. Kind-hearted Heidi thought grandfather didn't want her anymore. Grandfather stumbled rushing down the mountainside, but the aunt had already left with Heidi. Grandfather thought Heidi wanted to leave. Heidi thought grandfather didn't want her. The aunt sold Heidi to a castle. After taking a commission, she hurried away. Heidi was left to be a companion for the rich young lady Clara. The two little girls quickly became good friends. Heidi, who had lived in the mountains since childhood, didn't understand the rules of high society. She ate from a bowl and was immediately interrupted by the housekeeper. Heidi secretly hid soft bread, wanting to bring it to Peter's grandmother. The housekeeper kept chattering on and on about those harsh rules. This made Heidi fall asleep directly. Although she would have a better future here, Heidi's heart yearned more for freedom and being unrestrained. Looking at the unfamiliar ceiling, she missed grandfather. She missed her friend Peter. She missed the Alps. Clara taught her how to use utensils. She was a proper princess, while Heidi was just a girl who wanted to break the rigid rules. When class time came, Heidi couldn't read. The teacher found the housekeeper. He felt Heidi was holding back Clara's studies, while Heidi on the side only thought about going home. Clara brought Heidi to a room. Her mother's portrait hung here. After mother passed away, it made her seriously ill, causing her legs to lose feeling. Her spirit was also shackled, so Heidi secretly took Clara out for a sneak trip. This was Clara's first time at the market. Everything here made her curious. Heidi excitedly climbed up the tall tower. She wanted to find the mountain where grandfather's house was, but couldn't find it no matter how hard she looked. She walked down the tower disappointedly and found Clara had bought a litter of kittens. After returning, the manservant carefully wiped the mud off the wheels, trying to help them get away with it, but they were still caught red-handed by the housekeeper. Unexpectedly, the housekeeper was allergic to cat fur. When the kittens crawled out, it made her even more terrified. She said Heidi couldn't eat dinner tonight. Heidi took a lot of bread, ready to escape, but she was stopped before reaching the gate. She thought she could go home anytime, but discovered she couldn't leave. The feeling of living under someone else's roof was hard to bear. Heidi could only hide under the covers and cry secretly. Soon after, Clara's father and grandmother came back, seeing his increasingly cheerful daughter. The father loved Heidi dearly because he loved his daughter, but the housekeeper started telling on her, saying Heidi was just an illiterate wild child. Perhaps it was precisely because of the housekeeper's harshness. That made Clara even more unhappy. Clara's grandmother was a wise old woman. She tried to reach into Heidi's heart. Grandmother told her stories of the Alps. Heidi was listening with fascination, but grandmother suddenly stopped. She was using stories to spark the child's interest in reading. Naturally wanting to learn to read, Heidi developed a strong interest in learning. Her amazing learning speed surprised everyone. The teacher agreed to let Heidi stay and study together together with Clara, but Heidi's smile gradually disappeared. Only grandmother noticed the expression on her face. Heidi clutched the toy eagle grandfather gave her, crying secretly. The eagle was a symbol of freedom. While she was now imprisoned here, Heidi even started sleepwalking. She dreamed of escaping this place. The father didn't want Heidi to become a second Clara. He decided to send her back to the Alps. Heidi wanted to say goodbye to Clara, but Clara locked herself in her room crying secretly. Heidi heard everything outside the room. She left her beloved toy for Clara. She knew Clara dreamed of soaring freely in the sky like this little eagle. Heidi left this place carrying a bag of small bread rolls. Grandfather was working at home. Suddenly he heard the voice he'd been longing for day and night from behind. Heidi returned to the Alps she'd been dreaming of. She stepped onto this land she'd been thinking about day and night. They hugged each other tightly, enjoying this hard-won reunion. Heidi handed the soft bread to Peter's grandmother. Although she didn't bring any gift for grandfather, she herself was the best gift. Heidi returned to her carefree days of old. She wrote letters to Clara, telling her about everything here, hoping she could come play here. Grandmother knew how important this friendship was for Clara, so after much effort, she sent her to the mountains. The two little spirits finally reunited again. Grandmother wanted Clara to play here for a few days. Grandfather readily agreed. They slept on hay in the attic. At night they made wishes to the starry sky. During the day they played and frolicked on the mountain. Clara's presence made Peter feel that Heidi no longer belonged to him. He left angrily. Heidi taught Clara to break free from worldly constraints. She ate heartily, drank milk heartily, without worrying about a young lady's image and rules. But as happy as they were, Peter was equally sad. He pushed Clara's wheelchair off the cliff. Peter thought Clara would go home without her wheelchair. To not disappoint Clara, grandfather carried her up the mountain. Clara was enchanted by the beautiful scenery before her. A dancing butterfly caught Clara's attention. She wanted to catch that butterfly, but didn't realize she had stood up.